On this edition of Fulton at Work, Fulton County works with the Department of Homeland Security to increase the number of people who are prepared for a disaster before it strikes. And on a lighter note, the county makes it simple as possible to add a four-legged friend to your family. I'm Daryl Carver. All that and more starts right now on Fulton at Work. After watching firsthand the destruction Hurricanes Harvey and Irma caused in September of 2017, it got many of us thinking, are we prepared when a disaster strikes? September is designated as National Preparedness Month, and Fulton County, along with the Department of Homeland Security, wants to increase the number of overall individuals, families, and communities that engage in preparedness actions. The theme for 2017 was Disasters Don't Plan Ahead, You Can. And it encouraged everyone to be prepared for an emergency or disaster, whether they were at work, home, business, school, or in a place of worship. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk to the Emergency Preparedness Program Administrator for Fulton County Board of Health to see how a disaster can be avoided before it happens. So please stay with us. Welcome back to Fulton at Work. I'm Daryl Carver. In September of 2017, the first ever tropical storm warning was issued in Atlanta because of Hurricane Irma. From damaged homes to power outages, countless families were affected by the unprecedented weather. So what can we do to be prepared for the next disaster? Wendy Smith, the Emergency Preparedness Program Administrator for the Fulton County Board of Health, has some of those answers. First of all, Wendy, thank you for joining us on Fulton at Work.
Hi, Daryl. Thanks for having me.
Now, why is September designated as National Preparedness Month?
The federal government designated September as National Preparedness Month, kind of in recognition of the events of September 11th, 2001, as well as an acknowledgement of the fact that September is peak hurricane season, and it is a good time for all of us to be thinking about ways that we can be prepared as individuals, as communities, and as a nation.
Now, the theme for 2017 is Disasters Don't Plan Ahead, You Can. What does that mean exactly?
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can means that all of us are able to take specific actions to ensure that we are better able to survive and thrive following an emergency situation. And there are many different prompts on the website that will help individuals, communities, businesses, and faith communities to make plans and make specific decisions ahead of an emergency situation that will help them be more prepared when it happens to get through the situation without as severe effects. And the federal government has been promoting these activities every year since 2004, I believe, to try to really emphasize that we are not victims of these circumstances. We can do things that'll make it more likely that we'll get through it without any long-term negative effects.
Talk to us a little bit about how Fulton County helps Homeland Security spread the word about national preparedness.
So in Fulton County, here at the Public Health Department, as well as at the Atlanta Fulton County Emergency Management Agency, we collaborate with agencies and individuals, businesses, faith communities to talk about decisions that individuals and organizations can take to be prepared for different emergency scenarios that include national security type situations or naturally occurring events. From the standpoint of the community, many of the choices that you make to be prepared serve you well, whether it's a homeland security threat or a natural disaster threat. And so we try to reach out to everyone with kind of an all hazards approach as we teach the message of preparedness.
Now, is there a feeling out there that not enough communities are prepared for disasters?
Sometimes it seems like there are a lot of people who are not prepared for disasters, but I think what happens is that there are some people that need our additional support during emergencies and disasters, and so it's really important as we plan as individuals and families and neighborhoods to think about what we can do to ensure that our neighbors and our friends who may need additional assistance can be more prepared. And so actions that you can take to help anyone that you know is having difficulty will be really important to do. And so we're interested in strengthening community networks to ensure that people don't fall through the preparedness cracks, if you will.
Tell us a little bit more about the social media toolkit that's found on the ready.gov website.
The ready.gov website has some great social media tools that can be used for individuals, organizations that are looking to participate in the Preparedness Month activities, including Facebook and Twitter type feed information. There's also an app that can be downloaded that can also assist in those activities. And then, of course, if people don't have access to social media, going to the website and reviewing the information that is there is a great way to get all of those same types of tips that you would get from your Facebook feed or a Twitter feed. And of course, if folks don't have access to website on a daily basis, signing up through the Atlanta Fulton County Emergency Management Agency's Code Red system would enable them to get alerts about weather events and other emergencies that might be occurring locally. So there's a lot of different ways to get information, and they've tried to make it really easy for people to find what they need.
And what about those who aren't so social media savvy? How can they stay on top of disaster preparedness?
For people who aren't social media savvy, it's okay. There's a lot of other ways to get information. Going to the ready.gov or the Ready Georgia website will provide you with many of those same pieces of information that you could receive through your Twitter feed or your Facebook streaming data. For people who don't have access to the website frequently, you can find out additional information by contacting your local emergency management agency and getting connected with their Code Red system, where you can receive text messages about emerging threats or events in Fulton County, Atlanta area.
Now, though the campaign is in September, how can people be prepared all year long?
Well, the campaign is only in September, but preparedness is really a lifestyle, and I think that it's really important to remember that as we go through different seasons of the year, there's different threats from weather and other kinds of emergencies that we all are pretty familiar with. So during the summer, for example, it's important to be familiar with the symptoms of heat stroke, for example, and to not get overtired and overheated during physical activity. During the winter, we know that ice is kind of a threat here in the Atlanta area sometimes. So being aware of what the weather forecast is and staying home if the ice storm is in the forecast, making those kinds of choices on an ongoing basis can really help us to avoid difficult situations. So that's what we recommend.
Also, how can people join the National Preparedness Month campaign?
If people are interested in participating in the National Preparedness campaign, they should go to the website and check out all the different ways to be involved. There are links back to Georgia and Atlanta Fulton County activities, mostly coordinated through the Atlanta Fulton County Emergency Management Agency and volunteer organizations that are associated with it. In addition, if people are interested in being a volunteer for the Medical Reserve Corps here in Fulton County, they should go to the servegeorgia.gov website and register their interest so that they can be able to participate in an emergency.
And if you could, share some final thoughts about this issue.
I think preparedness is an important lifestyle choice that we should all make. We should be good examples for our children as we go through the process of talking about who are you going to call if mommy's not able to pick you up. You know, having that plan in place, even for young children, is so important. So you start young and you carry that on through your lifestyle. I think it's very important. And being able to support the community. If you're feeling pretty prepared, then what can you do to help make the neighborhood more prepared, or the whole town? We really need volunteers and people who are motivated to assist in getting our whole community more resilient and ready for a variety of emergency scenarios.
Wendy Smith, thank you so much for that great information.
Thanks again for having me.
Now, when we come back, you'll see how easy and fun it is to welcome in a four-legged friend into your life. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Fulton at Work. I'm Darrell Carver. Fulton County's Animal Shelter wants to help your family grow by adding a four-legged friend to the mix. And the process is easy, and joining us to explain that is Karen Hirsch from the Lifeline Animal Project. First of all, Karen, thank you for joining us here on Fulton at Work.
Thanks so much for having me.
Please take us through the animal adoption process.
Okay, well, anybody who's interested in adopting a pet from Fulton County Animal Services, you may first go online if you'd like to look at all of our pets. Some of our adoption ads have videos with them so you can see them running around. Some have great descriptions. Some don't, because that means the pet is newer, might have just come in. But you can look and see, you know, a couple that you like, or you can just come right in. And if you're interested in a cat, you would come into the room I'm sitting in right now, which is our cat room, and you can play with some of the kittens, the cats, see who might have the personality you're looking for. If you're interested in adopting a dog, you can go to the back of our shelter where all the dogs are housed, and you can walk around, and the smaller dogs are up at the front. And if there's a few dogs that you'd like to get to know better, you can ask a volunteer or an employee, and they'll take them out to one of the play yards with you, and you can get to know the dog. Sometimes it takes a few minutes for the dog to settle down. They get really excited when they're first out, might sniff all around and ignore you, but eventually they'll calm down, settle down, and you'll start to see their personality come through a little bit. And if you're looking for a playful one, you can throw a ball with it, see if it's the kind of dog you want. If you have a dog at home, you might want to bring the dog with you so that you can see if the dog gets along with dogs we have here, if they're a good match. If you have children, bring them with you to see how the dog might interact with your kids. It's kind of a fun family activity to do, actually, to come here and pick out a pet and find the one that's perfect for you.
Now, are there any misconceptions that people might have about adopting a pet?
There are. I think people have misconceptions that there's something wrong with the pets in the shelter. Sure, there are some that come in abused or injured, but those aren't put up for adoption until they're healthier. The pets that we are adopting out have shown no aggression towards people, and if they don't get along with other animals, it'll clearly state that on their cage. They'll be in and run by themselves, but generally speaking, these animals are wonderful pets. A lot of them are already trained to sit and stay. A lot of them are really calm around other dogs, cats. Well, we have a notation on their kennel cards on their cage if they're good with cats from what we've experienced. And I've personally adopted several that weren't seemingly good with cats at the shelter, but I have cats at home, and once they came home and settled down, they were fine with the cats. So you know, it's the misconceptions that there's something wrong with them just aren't true. They seem to be more grateful than other kinds of animals you'd get at stores or wherever you get animals. They seem to show you that they're grateful, they know you rescued them. And we've even had dogs here that have saved people's lives. We had a dog who woke a family up when there was a gas leak in their apartment, and they credit that dog to saving their life. They'd just gotten it 2 weeks before. We've had animals who have woken people up when there's fire. Dogs could just save your life. We've had people who have become ill and the animals have become their, one woman, there's a dog who notifies her when she's about to have a seizure. So they can do amazing things and they're great.
Now the whole adoption process, it is free. There's no cost to come in, correct?
There's no cost to come in and look at an animal, and we have different specials, different months. Sometimes it is fee waived to adopt an animal and you pay absolutely nothing. If the dog is heartworm positive, we will actually treat that pet before, well, you actually take the pet home and bring it back for treatment. That's usually 2 shots, and that's a $2,000 charge at your vet. So we'll do that for no cost. So because we really think these animals deserve loving homes.
And also, what are some of the other services the shelter offers?
Yeah, we offer, I believe it's on Tuesdays, rabies shots to Fulton County residents. I'm not sure of the cost. I know it's pretty inexpensive. So you can come in and get rabies. You can go to fultonanimalservices.com for the particulars on that. We also offer low-cost spay and neuters through our Lifeline shelters, through our Lifeline clinics, which are, there's one in Forest Park and there's one in Avondale. We also offer education, pet education for people who might be first-time pet owners, and anybody who has adopted a pet from any of our shelters can have free training classes. They're located in Avondale, and Frogs to Dogs is the training company that teaches them. And they teach your pet to socialize with others, to be non-reactive, to do the basic commands, sit, stay, down, and walk on a leash. So those are some of the services. We also do counseling when somebody comes to drop off a pet. If there's any way they can keep the pet. Sometimes they just can't afford the pet's medical care. Sometimes their house is infested with fleas and they didn't realize that there's a top spot they can put on their dog, and we'll give them that. So we do what we can to try to help the pet stay with the person who loves them.
Yeah. This is awesome. And final question is there anything else you'd like to add that we didn't cover?
I think we've covered most of it. I just want to add that it's so important if you do have a pet to have it spayed or neutered, because we have about 20 to 40 pets coming in the shelter 7 days a week, and a lot of it is just because pets are wandering. People think that maybe they're going to let their pets have puppies and then they can sell them, and then that never works out. They tend to just bring the litter here. And then some of the animals might get loose and you won't even know it, but your dog is mating with another dog and there's a litter of puppies. So that's really important. It's important to microchip your pet so that if it does end up here, we scan for it, and then we can call you right away. And it's important to get your vaccinations, and if you can't afford to do that, we offer low-cost monthly clinics at our Lifeline clinics for vaccinations, and then twice a year in certain parks in Fulton County, we do absolutely free shots. We hand out free spay-neuter vouchers, free collars, and food and more at our Healthy Pets events.
Karen Hurst, thank you so much for joining us here on Fulton at Work.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, if you would like to see the dogs and cats available for adoption, you can log on to fultonanimalservices.com. We'll be back to wrap up the show after this short break. Now that's all of our time. Thanks for joining us for Fulton at Work, and a very special thanks to our guests. Now we want to connect with you online. Please check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm Daryl Carver, and we'll see you next time.